You know, there's an old proverb which says, never interrupt, Napoleon said, never interrupt your enemy when he's in the process of destroying himself. And what I love watching here is Trudeau's response to the truckers, Biden's advice to Trudeau, which is, you know, use your government to go get at them. CNN's response to the truckers, and indeed the response to everybody that wants to be free with these masks. The left is callous and insensitive, and the unmasking that Hank talked about is something which I believe we're gonna start to see more of in the media, because when you tell a story and you tell it with emotion, step back for a second, Gene, look at this. What the left has always done brilliantly is manipulate the masses with the stories that they concoct. But in reality, we don't even have to concoct the story. No. What that father said with tears goes to what Malachi prophesied. Maybe we're in the beginning of a great move of God prophesied in the Bible, where Malachi said, I will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and children to their parents, lest I strike the earth with a curse. The family, and this goes to the gender issue, transgender issue, the destruction of the household, the attack even by BLM against heterosexual marriages. The battle against family in America has been so devastating that I think what we're watching now is parents are aligning with their children, and children are aligning with their own survival against the tyranny of Big Brother. This is a great moment in history.
And I noticed you mentioned something about BLM, and please let me just break it down. They wanted to destroy the nuclear family.
That's
so
right.
The Black community families have already been decimated. Mm-hmm. So we need families to stand up as the example and show us how this can be done. We don't need crack in the neighborhoods. We don't need crack pipes, but we need daddies.
That's right.
We need these men to stand up on the front line of this battle.
That's
and
right.
so I really appreciate that, Father.
And let me also just interject and just say one thing to the parents, any parents that's out there. You have to lead by example. Let them see, let your children see you take that first step as the parent by removing the mask. You got to do that first. For me, just for me, Silk, I would have went up into the school board with respect, and I would have let them know how I felt. But you're going to have to remove the mask first so that your children can see that my parent, my father, mean business.
But I commend him.
But I commend him.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. Pastor Hank, you know, and I love what Diamond Silk said about, you know, fathers, and even that man saying, you know, the remorse he had for not standing up for his family. You know, we've talked about this a lot, about church leaders and pastors standing up. I mean, it's every segment, every step of the way, we've got to stand up. And what Diamond and Silk says, you agree with that?
Diamond and Silk mentioned about revival, the youth that are standing up, saying enough of this. Lance brilliantly mentioned about Malachi, you know, the fathers and the sons. You know, there was a prophecy that I didn't understand at the time that said that they would begin to gather together, the red, yellow, black, white, they would all gather. But then he said, watch when the families begin to gather, the parents with their children. And I didn't understand at the time that the prophecy came, but I'm telling you, and I prophesy this is what we're going to see happen, is parents are going to start standing with their children, and they're going to say, we've had enough. And I'm telling you, this is all going to start crashing down, because it's a proven fact. Revival, when it's brought forth by the Spirit of God, a lot of times it stops. And Pastor Gene, you're a brilliant studier of revival. When it doesn't reach the children, the revival fizzles out. But when it reaches the children or the young, you will see a tremendous flame of revival. And I'm telling you, this is all a prophetic indicator of a great move of God that is on the land.
It is, Pastor Hank. And, you know, and when you're saying that, you know, I was thinking of revival in 1906. We all love to talk about what happened at Azusa Street, William Seymour. Now, the interesting thing is the kids were just as much involved in that revival as the parents. Interestingly enough, there's a book by Tommy Welchel out there that talks about the stories they told me, where he talked to people that were actually in that revival. It's published. I'm sure you can find it. It's got a yellow cover. And what he found out is that these children, who at that point were older, much older by that point, they played in the revival. And they did not notice race. Race was not an issue. It was all about who Jesus was, and look what God's doing, and people are getting healed right and left, and they didn't care. You know, the thing is, people don't care when God's moving, when the Holy Spirit's moving, and there's health happening, and healings are happening, and signs and wonders. Nobody really cares. And I think we've got to get back to that. All right, speaking of nobody really caring, I got to show this because I want to talk about this before we talk about Black History Month, because I really want to talk about some things about that. Let me show you this tweet. My home state of Georgia. I haven't lived there in several years, but this is stunning. Here's the picture of Stacey Abrams in front of posing without a mask with all the kids around her at this school. All right? So take a good look at that. Yeah, there it is. Now I want you to watch her video response.
Yes. I will say this. I went to read to kids for an African-American read-in day. I approached the podium with my mask on. I followed the protocols. I told the kids I'm taking my mask off because I'm reading to kids who are listening remotely as well. And we were socially distanced. The kids were socially distanced from me. I told them that's what I was doing. And in the excitement after I finished, because it was so much fun working with those kids, I took a picture, and that was a mistake. Protocols matter, and protecting our kids is the most important thing, and anything that can be perceived as undermining that is a mistake, and I apologize.
Well, she didn't just pose for a pic. There were other pictures, Lance. Look at these pictures that she posed. If we got those tight, look at it. Here she is posing. Kids masks, Stacey no. Kids mask, Stacey no. There was more than one. So it wasn't just a pic. It was many pics. Look at that. There she is in the middle. Teachers with mask on. She doesn't have one on. This is the hypocrisy, Lance, that we're seeing from some of our leaders. Now, listen, I'm going to talk to you good folks in my home state of Georgia. You need to wake up. This is not what you're there for. You're smarter than that. Lance, please come in.
And let's be honest about all this. She was posing. This was a well-documented photo op. This was Black History Month. She wants to be elected to public office. Her staff set this up. She wasn't going to pose with a mask on because you can't see her smiling face. She didn't want so every picture where the photographer shows up, she wants to be seen. But the hypocrisy is for her to even say, oh, it was a momentary getting carried away. No, it wasn't. It was a calculated photo op. What's really funny is Gavin Newsom. Did you hear his explanation
No,
for
I
the
didn't.
playoff last week? He had his mask off. Gene, you can't make this stuff up. He said, yeah, but I didn't exhale.
Well,
exactly what
he's been hanging around
he
Bill
had
Clinton.
His mask up, but he said, I never exhaled.
All right.
That they're going to be mailing and sending pipes that can be used to smoke crack and meth to underserved communities in America. This is insanity. This isn't even about liberal and conservative anymore. This is about crazy versus normal, insane versus common sense. Where does this end?
Where does it end? Well, let's tune in to Hannity, see what happened there.
Geraldo.
Hi, Sean.
Please tell me you don't support this. I'm expecting the worst. That's about to come out of your mouth. But just please tell me you don't.
Believe me, I am not enthusiastic about this plan at all. But Sean, you have to consider the fact, this is the question. Do junkies' lives matter?
All right, Lance, I'll give you first shot at that.
Yes, I think this is all part of the midterm strategy to build crack better.
That was good. That was good. That was good. Oh, my gosh. All right, well, Lance, go ahead.
It's just, here's the amazing thing. I'm reading today about Biden just shut down another energy pipeline. Then I read another headline. He opened another pipeline up. It's a crack pipeline. It's almost like that God is letting I can't tell when something's being written by the New York Times or the Babylon Bee. I'm reading these headlines and saying, is this surreal or what?
It is surreal. Diamond Silk, comment. I know you got one.
Look, have you all heard of track stars? Now he's trying to create crack stars is what he's trying to do. And he's trying to bring back the crack epidemic. Remember back in the 80s and the 90s, it decimated whole communities, took fathers out of the home, and he's trying to bring that back. And when they talk about underserved communities, that's a dog whistle for Black people. This will not end up in the white community. It will end up in the Black community. First, it was aborting our babies, okay? You want to do that. They coerced you. They put a liquor store on every corner, abortion clinic on every other corner. Now, we're going to give you some crack pipes so you can go head on. I guess that they couldn't get us with some of this other stuff, so we'll throw this out there to see how many people will gravitate to this. I think it's sad and it's offensive. Biden, he offends me by even promoting this, because you're talking about some kids with some supplies. What's going to be the supplies? Then they say, oh, well, no, it's not going to pay for pop. Well, what you going to have in the supplies if people smoking meth and crack cocaine and all that kind of stuff?
They said lip balms.
I guess they're using the lip balms in case you pulling on a pipe and it may chap your lips. I don't know.
What I want to know is if this was inspired by Hunter Biden, by his son. Because we know that he don't have a problem with him doing crack, evidently, and they want to impose this here upon the Black community. So I'm curious on that. This type of swab, they got some type of alcoholic swab that they say that they got in the kit. So do you want people to take and wipe it before the injection or after the injection? I mean, one more thing. They call this here a safe smoking kit. When have smoking ever been safe?
It's not.
But when have drugs ever been legal?
When have paraphernalia ever been legal? You go into, if they catch some drug paraphernalia in your car or in your possession, you're going to jail. So how is it that you have this government, the Biden regime, acting like a kingpin, a drug kingpin here? And want to take and just, here. And then you going to use American tax dollars to do it. You making us as the American people complicit to what you do.
To this here particular crime. One more nugget. The $30 million that's being used as part of the COVID fund. So you want to tell us that Black people are disproportionately affected by this particular virus, but you want to use those same COVID funds to take and distribute stuff that's going to enable people to do drugs? I thought Black people were disproportionately affected, but now you're going to restrict the very therapeutic medicines that can be used to save Black lives.
Silk, I thought Black Lives Matter.
I thought Black Lives Matter.
So listen, what they do, when they take away all our freedoms and everybody, we're not going to sit here and let them get 90% of them back. Because that's what they did. They put this big thing out there, and then you know why they withdrew this just an hour ago, you guys. They said, okay, we're going to drop this. You know why they did? Because of all of us. And you heard it on Fox there, other than Geraldo, who is actually I don't even know what to tell you about Geraldo. But actually Fox actually talked. Now let's say Fox, that's twice this week that Fox has spoke up. I'll tell you about the first time earlier in the week, but Fox, by them saying, hey, this is crazy, we're not going to do this crack pipe thing, the Biden administration just withdrew that within the hour. Now, it could be we could have got disinformation, but I believe it's true. They have withdrawn that. Why? Because everybody spoke up and said, this is disgusting. We're not going to do this. But it's working. Our voices are getting out there, and things are getting done to get this, to fight the evil. I mean, it's unreal.
I like what Mike said, because he's bringing up the fact, we saw this with the truckers. The more Trudeau came out and tried to bully everybody, the worse it got. And we can take some real lessons learned from what happened in Canada. I mean, these guys are not backing down. What they thought was going to back down has created a worldwide rally. And these guys are coming together, and we're seeing the flop flipping like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, the Lord had prophesied months ago that we would not just see flip-flop, but flop-flip. Things would begin to flop, then they would flip. But what he also prophesied is back in 2017 and 18, which we've shown on Flashpoint, that he prophesied that there would be a movement that would arise in Canada that would start in British Columbia and go all the way down where Ottawa is. Or I believe that's where they're at in their convoy. God would begin to take back Canada, and then he said it would happen in the United States. So all of the efforts of us that are standing, praying, the populist movement, like Lance says, that's rising. We are winning, and we're taking it back. Listen, MAGA is alive. Make America great again. If it was up to Biden, it would be MACA, M-A-C-A. Make America crack addicts. And he's losing, it's falling apart, and the Most High God is coming through, and we are going to see some amazing things. And the Lord prophesied that a mountain would blow its top as a sign that the Lord's hand of intensity would begin to increase, and things would begin to shift, and things would fall apart. 3 days later, the mountain in the Pacific Ocean, right off of Alaska, blew its top. God isn't playing, and I'm telling you, we are in for some exciting times, and God is so awesome. We're seeing his hand move.
Yeah, amen. We are seeing his hand move.